What's up, Algebra 1? It is Mr. Knight, back from break, back in the saddle, and it's time to get rocking and rolling, finish this school year out strong. I hope you guys had an awesome, refreshing break. I know being on virtual isn't the best, but we're going to make the most of it, just like we do with everything else, okay? We are going to start with our next unit, Unit 5, System of Equations. Ooh, sounds spooky. It's really not a big deal at all. It's just a bunch of equations and figuring out how they relate to each other. And we're going to start with level 1, which is graphing equations of lines. And we know that there's two linear equation forms out there. We have our slope-intercept form for our first one. This is y equals mx plus b, if you recall, where m is our slope and our b represents our y-intercept. And if we have our y-intercept right here, we know that there's a point on our graph, 0, b, because, well, a y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So you'll always have a point on your graph based off your y-intercept. We also have another form, though. We have standard form. Standard form is kind of wonky. We talked about it a little bit towards the end last semester. A, B, and C are just constants or numbers, and there's nothing really scary about them, but we are going to be using standard form and converting it back into slope-intercept form to graph equations of the lines. Now I know what you're thinking. You're like, Mr. Knight, we already did this, dude. You would be right, disembodied student voice. We did, but we need some review on it, and we're going to need it because as we move forward, we're going to be seeing this stuff a lot more, okay? So let's get some practice with it, and let's get some review on graphing y equals mx plus b. So when you're presented with an equation of this form, there's two things to do. First thing is start at 0, b. Start at your y-intercept. That's your first point right off the bat. And to get a line, we only need 2 points on a graph. So if I got my first point, I just need my second one, and I can connect them. So if this is my 0, b, that's awesome. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use rise over run from 0, b to get to the next point. And remember, rise over run, that's another name for our slope m, okay? It's just your change in your y over your change in your x. Here's another way to write it. This is a more scientific way of doing it. Change in y over change in x, your rise over run. So then you just look and you think, all right, how much am I changing by in my y for my rise? And how much am I running by? This would be my rise. This would be my run. And that would be my next point that I get, right? And then I can just put a line through there. So those are the two things we're going to do, and let's see an example of that. Let's get a refresher on this stuff, man. By the way, I got a new microphone. I don't know if you guys can tell if you pay attention to that, but hopefully the voice quality is a lot better. No audio issues here. So let's graph this guy. Graph the equation y equals 3/2 x plus 2. And it's negative 3/2 x. So right off the bat, I know that 2 is my y-intercept. It's of the form y equals mx plus b. And so I know that I'm going to have a 0, 2 is going to be one of my points. So that's my first point right off the bat. Okay, that's my y-intercept. And so I'm going to plot that. I'm going to use a different color. 0, 2, that's going to be right here. And now the next thing I got to do is I got to use rise over run from that point to get to my next one, right? Well, my rise over run is, I have a negative 3 over 2. That's kind of weird. That negative might be throwing you off a little bit, but let's recall, okay? If I have a negative fraction, that means either the top is negative or the bottom's negative. They both can't be negative, or else we'd have a negative divided by a negative, and that makes a positive 3/2. That's not what we have. So you get to choose. You can choose if you want the top or bottom to be negative. Let's just choose the top for this sake. So we'll have a negative 3 rise and a 2 run. So I'm going to, for my rise, starting from my y-intercept, I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to go to the right 2 for my run, 1, 2. and that's where my next point is. And now I just need to throw my line through there, include the arrows, and I'm good to go. I've graphed that equation with those two steps. Okay. I want us to focus a little bit more on standard form. We didn't get a whole lot of practice with that, so I think we should get a little bit more. Okay. Now, when graphing this guy, what I would do right off the bat is I would convert this, which once again this is called your standard form. I would convert your standard form back into slope-intercept form, right? Turn it back into y equals mx plus b. We could do that in two easy steps. First thing is subtract ax, this ax term, from both sides of the equal sign, and then divide everything by this number b. Divide everything. We're going to see that in a little bit. Once we've done that, we can just graph it like y equals mx plus b like we did before. So let's get some practice under our belts. Let's see. This first one we have here, we got 10x minus 8y equals 24. So let's do those two steps in our notes. Subtract ax from both sides of the equal sign. Okay, well that, again, this is of the form ax plus by equals c. So I'm going to subtract both sides by 10x. So I'm going to rewrite that guy to the side, so you can see how the math breaks down, so you're not just like, how did you do that? Well, this is how I did it. Subtract 10x. And so the 10x's here are gone. I'm left with negative 8y equals 24 minus 10x. Keep in mind, I can't combine those. I can't do 24 minus 10x. They're not like terms. They both do not have an x. So that's step one. Okay, subtract both sides by the ax. Step two, divide everything by b. In this case, it's this negative 8. I'm going to divide everything by negative 8. Everything, every number, okay? So I'm going to get rid of the negative 8s here. I'm going to be left with y equals, and now you just need to use some division. So 24 divided by negative 8 is negative 3. We have negative 10 divided by negative 8. I know a negative divided by negative is a positive, but 10 divided by 8, I can only reduce that. I can treat it like a fraction. So 10 over 8, that reduces to 5/4. And I'm going to plot my x right next to it. And it almost looks like y equals mx plus b. I really just need to kind of rearrange the x term and the constant. So I get y equals positive 5/4 x minus 3. And now I can go ahead and plot that like y equals mx plus b. Excuse me. We know that, excuse me again. We know that 0 comma negative 3 is going to be one of our points because it's of that form 0 comma b. So I'm going to plot that point right off the bat. 0 comma negative 3 is down yonder. And now I'm going to use my rise over run to get my next point. Well, my rise over run, I'm going to call that the y-intercept. My rise over run is going to be my 5/4. So once again, I'm going to, from this point, I'm going to rise up 5 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to run 4 units. Since it's positive run, I go to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. How do you know to go to the right, Mr. Knight? Kind of rhymed. I know to go to the right because that's the positive x direction. Remember, this is a change in y over change in x. So if I'm going to the right, it's got to be positive. Okay, if I go to the left, it's got to be negative. Okay, and there we go. We have just graphed that guy successfully. So let's see another one. Let's see this guy. We have 2x plus y equals 5. All right, first step, I need to subtract both sides by 2x. Again, the 2x is here. We'll cancel. I'm going to be left with y equals 5 minus 2x. I can do 5 minus 2x. Now, what we had to end up doing is we ended up having to switch these guys around, right? We had to do something from this to look like that. And all we did was we kept the signs and just switched the numbers around. Let's just do that right off the bat. We don't have to wait till the end, unless you really want to. So let's just do negative 2x, and this would be a plus 5, because it's positive. So now, when we divide everything by what's in front of y, the b, right, dividing everything by what's in front of y, we're going to get our y equals mx plus b. What's in front of our y? It's 1. So if I divide everything by 1, cool, we get the same exact thing that we just got. So we're actually done. We don't even need to do step 2, but we do need to graph it. So again, I know this is of the form y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to have 0, 5 as my y-intercept. So let's plot that. 0, 5, where are you? You are right up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now we need to use our rise over run in order to get the next point. Well, our slope is -2, right? Now, if you're presented with some kind of number, whether that's an integer or an actual whole number, anything that doesn't have a fraction with it, or isn't in a fraction, you just can plop a 1 underneath it, and now it is a rise over run. It is a fraction. They're equivalent, right? So now I could do, I can rise -2. That means I'm going to go down -2. And then I'm going to run 1. So I'm going to go down 2. I'm going to run 1. So I'm going to go to the right 1. And there we go. Another line bites the dust. Okay? But I want you guys to try this guy on your own. I want you to try to pause the video, and then I want you to give this one an honest attempt, and then when you're ready, unpause the video, and let's see if you got the same thing as me. So, go. Alright, we're back. And I hope you actually did that because, again, it's good practice. You need to see if you can do this stuff on your own. You're not always going to have me. And let's be honest, right now, you don't have me. You're not in class. So really, really try this stuff on your own. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. Let's try to make you right, okay? So, I'm going to make my coordinate plane because I was slacking. I did not do that. And now I have. We got this guy, 6x minus 5y equals 15. And you subtract both sides by my ax term, by my 6x. Minus 6x to both sides. Those cancel on the left. I'm left with negative 5y equals, and I'm going to put my x term first. I'm going to do negative 6x plus 15. Okay. Next thing I got to do, well, we didn't have to do it in this one, but this one we definitely had to divide everything by negative 5. What ends up happening is these negative 5's cancel, and I will be left with y equals, I have a negative 6 over a negative 5. Negative over negative is a positive, and it's 6 over 5. I can't do much with that, so I'm just going to leave it as 6/5 x. But I can do 15 divided by negative 5. That is a negative 3. So y equals 6/5 x minus 3. Now we can graph it. Okay. So now I know one of my points is going to be, for my y-intercept, that's going to be my 0, b, or 0, -3. So 0, -3 is going to be down yonder. I don't know why I keep saying yonder, but I do. And then our next point, I know that's kind of hard to see. Try to make it bigger. Make it darker. Okay, that looks better. Then our next point is going to be, well, using our rise over run. We have a rise of 6 over a run of 5. So I'm going to go up 6 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to go to the right, because it's positive 5, the right 5 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we are done. Okay. Oh, class is over. Time to be dismissed. Anyway, go ahead and I included some Khan Academy extra practice on this stuff. Check that out if you're really having a hard time with this stuff. And I recommend you do, because this stuff's not going anywhere, man. We kind of need it moving forward. So look at that stuff if you need help. Reach out to me if you really, really need help. and we're going to be doing some Zoom sessions. Remember, every Tuesday and Thursday after or during your period that you have me. So if you're fourth hour, you're going to be watching, coming to that Zoom meeting during your fourth hour, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we'll get some extra help, extra assistance on this stuff. This is Mr. Knight, signing off. I will see you again.